That's how we all die.
Okay, so I want to do a little commentary on this dumb documentary. First of all, yes, you can hear my birth cycle air conditioner going in the background. It is way too cold today to switch it off, so you're going to have to handle the whirring. What I want to do is have a look at this documentary, provide a bit of commentary, and then we're going to read through some of the comments. All of the comments. I haven't found a single one. I've scrolled at least halfway through 5,000 comments, and I haven't found a single one that is supportive of this documentary. There are nearly 50,000 views on it with 1,000 likes. I would like to see their dislike ratio, wouldn't you? Pretty sure it's big. Anyway, all of LawTube is doing commentary on this video, and so you can go and watch, some experienced people who understand law and know what law is all about, what this particular law is all about. But I'm not going to do a LawTube episode. I just am going to provide some feedback on and some commentary on this so-called documentary. Before we do that, let's just read one comment to kick off with, which I think is worth reading. Let me just find it. It's down here somewhere. I had it open. Here we go. Your, quote, documentary is excruciatingly biased and actually exhibits all the qualities of partiality that you spend the entire documentary attempting to accuse social media and content creators of. I teach at a small college and have done so for over 20 years. One of my areas of focus is to evaluate the credibility of sources, especially focusing on traditional and social media repositories. The objective is for all of us to become discerning and intentional in terms of distinguishing elements of credibility. I will certainly be using excerpts from this documentary to illustrate classic examples of propagandistic and skewed narrative presented under the guise of journalistic authority. Over the past several years, I, like many people, have made the decision to leave traditional television and to move my consumption to entirely digital platforms. Go you, Donna Lynn, so have I. For me, that means YouTube is one of my predominant platforms, though not exclusively so. However, YouTube is convenient and is exemplary of what most of my students are consuming, and therefore keeps me at a good baseline. Therefore, because most traditional outlets, such as yourself, do disseminate your offerings through YouTube, I still do follow traditional outlets. What I have found, however, is that traditional outlets have become increasingly polarized and attempt to use a false sense of journalistic elitism to attempt to discredit opposing perspectives. While I have no problem with people expressing credibly documented contrary opinions, this documentary absolutely does not do that. I watched the trial start to finish. I have read all of the documentation, and I have followed 18 different social media outlets that prioritize the Depp versus Heard trial, ranging from popular culture commentary to serious legal analysis. Your documentary is egregious misuse of the term documentary, which in itself is supposed to signify a fact-based and well-researched analysis. You do not do this at all. Your show is full of unverifiable opinion, snide innuendo, aspersive conjecture, and outright demonstrable lies. Outside of using excerpts of this show as a cautionary tale for my students, I would advise anyone who has not subjected themselves to watching this to save themselves that hour of their lives that they could never get back if they wasted time watching this absolute tripe. P.S. Because of this and several other instances of embedded bias presented as refutable fact in much of your reporting, I have rescinded my subscription to NBC News. I will no doubt still watch some of your offerings, but I don't want to be subjected to it pushed into my timeline. Okay. I just thought that was a very good comment to read, because it's pretty much sums up what everybody was thinking. And this really, there's digging through all of these comments trying to find someone who actually supports what this documentary has said in any way. Yeah. Anyway, let's get on with it, and I'm just going to start right at the very start. The following documentary contains explicit language, profanity, and descriptions of SV. Well, we're talking about lies about SV, so I don't know that it's actually SV. It's kind of like watching a movie, isn't it? Like, it's not real. Anyway, let's get on with it.
Our coverage begins in Fairfax County, Virginia.
Around the world, the divorce of Johnny Depp and Amber Heard getting uglier as we
trial with that.
Okay, watch the crowds, because what you're looking for is street blocks, 6 to 12 street blocks deep, people holding signs saying "Kill Amber Heard." That's what she said, remember?
To Johnny Depp suing his ex-wife, actress Amber Heard, began.
I struggle to think of a case like this where you had both sides really using the courtroom to fight the public opinion war.
I think a lot of people want to dismiss this case and say that this is two celebrities and who cares. People don't always get the nuances of it because they're seeing the headlines.
You had Johnny Depp, and all of his fans came out of the woodwork. They were on TikTok. They were on the comment threads.
People believed him. They didn't believe her. Now, whether that's right or wrong, I don't know. But that's how the social media frenzy works.
We are now in a world where social media is used as a weapon.
When people
Just like you're using it as a weapon here. Isn't that what you're doing? I mean, NBC could have just broadcast this on Peacock and be done with it and just used, traditional media. But what have they done? No, they've posted this on social media and they've left the replies open. In Australia, we have 60 Minutes and ABC News. They turn the replies off. You can't reply to their videos because they're not doing it to, collect the social media commentary or anything like that. They're just putting the news out there and they're just using YouTube as one of the mediums for which they put their sources out, their videos out. But these guys are clearly trying to do something here because they've left their comments open. Anyway, let's continue.
Act like social media is completely irrelevant to the real world, that's plainly incorrect. And there is no denying the impact that social media posts and viral content can have on our real world.
On your journalism, actually, is the problem. That we can form our own opinions, that's democratic. That we can form opinions that you haven't actually put in our heads, that's not democratic. But we'll continue.
In 2012, Johnny Depp was arguably one of the biggest stars in the world.
He had been sort of a teen heartthrob in the 80s with 21 Jump Street, and his star really built around these interesting characters that he portrayed on film.
He was mainly known as being Tim Burton's muse.
But then Captain Jack Sparrow with Disney shot him into huge stardom. Amber Heard is 20 years younger and was building a career and name recognition within Hollywood, but she was
building a career and name recognition off the back of Johnny Depp, and I take offence to him being Tim Burton's muse. He and Tim Burton have been friends for many years, no doubt because Tim Burton saw his talent, but they've been friends. They have done movies together because they share some intellectual common territory, not because he's a muse, and that I would say is derogatory towards a victim.
Certainly nowhere near the star that Johnny Depp was.
Amber Heard.
And they just show us a picture there of, he's got his hand wrapped from abuse that she admits to perpetrating on him. Oh my goodness.
Heard and Johnny Depp met like most celebrity couples do. They were met while making a project. They made this movie called The Rum Diary.
Meeting an actress like Amber Heard, she's of another era,
I noticed that everybody smiled when he walked on set, and I thought this is a good sign.
Right here. This is when she says she was abused. She was abused right from the very beginning. He did something in the trailer. I can't even remember the story, but I'm sure you all watched it in the court trial. Her telling you the story where she was abused in the trailer.
Actually, it wasn't until 2011, 2 years later, that they took the relationship to the next level.
Eyes up right here!
The press lapped it up because people love good-looking Hollywood duos together, and these two fit the bill.
I did notice something on your hand. Oh, the other one. Is that an engagement ring?
In 2015, they got married, and they had a big, luxurious wedding on one of Johnny Depp's private islands. Yeah, it was mostly good. I'm trying to think. Until it got bad. Only a year later did Amber Heard file for divorce.
The actor's estranged wife saying she was a victim of domestic abuse. She's seen leaving court with visible bruises, asking a judge for a...
Now here we see the media supporting her, not putting her down, not doing as she says in her op-ed. She said that the media attacked her, that they didn't believe her, that they attacked her. That's not what they did at all. We're watching some reruns of old media supporting her.
Restraining order.
She went to the courthouse with a bruise on her face.
Johnny Depp's team said that she was just trying to expedite the process by filing this domestic restraining order, and that it...
Let's also add to this that there is actually footage with the reporters, sound going in the back, the sound recording them, and they're not attacking her. They're asking her what happened. They're asking if she's okay, but there is no reporters attacking her, as she claimed in her op-ed.
Actually had no merit. It was pretty remarkable the speed at which they actually reached a divorce settlement, and it was for $7 million for Amber Heard.
She had pledged all of that money to two charities, the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles and the ACLU, and they had a joint statement released at the time that neither party in the case was lying for financial gain.
Interesting that they point this out, because Johnny Depp has also offered to settle the case with books, which is a different case again. I haven't really covered... I think I actually did cover a little bit about that case in the last episode, but Johnny Depp is still trying to settle out of court. He tried to settle with Amber Heard out of court. He's trying to settle with Rocky Brooks out of court. So the fact that he would do this and let her have, some kind of win, like it wasn't done for financial gain, in order to settle it, I don't see that as unusual. We'll have to see what the outcome was of the Rocky Brooks settlement, because I don't think that Rocky Brooks, is going to leave it at that. He's going to do Amber Heard trick. He's going to wait another year down the track. He's going to come out and go, oh, no, that settlement meant nothing.
Tonight, fallen Hollywood mogul Harvey Weinstein expected to face charges.
A year after their divorce settlement was reached, became the Me Too movement.
Women will be silent
Violence? No!
They had to throw Marilyn Manson's face in there, but just on the topic of throwing Harvey Weinstein's face in there, as somebody points out in the comments below, and I also noticed myself, not a single person came out to defend Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein or, sorry, I can't remember who the other person was, but nobody came out to defend those people. And in this case, a lot of people came out to defend Johnny Depp. And that's because what they knew of him personally, especially his exes, what they knew of him personally did not match what Amber Heard was saying.
We saw a lot of people who had been living with the secrets and the shame for a very long time, feeling power in numbers.
Amber Heard penned an op-ed for the Washington Post in which she talked about being a survivor of domestic violence. She never actually named her ex-husband, Johnny Depp, in the...
Faced our culture's wrath. When she wrote the original op-ed, I keep saying that, it's op-ed, I know, don't correct me, apologies. When she wrote the original op-ed, she did say that the media attacked her. And I haven't found any evidence of that. I found the actual day where she walked out of that courtroom, nobody was attacking her. The media was supporting her. A lot of people, including myself, all believed her that she'd been abused because that's what she said. We didn't question her at all.
The op-ed.
The phrase that she used was, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, but the timeline insinuates who she's discussing. Johnny Depp filed for defamation in Fairfax County, Virginia.
He argues because of the allegations, his career has suffered.
He sued her for $50 million, and she said, fine, I'll sue you for...
His career did suffer, and we saw it in real time. If you'd been following this case from the UK trial, within days of the UK judge handing down his verdict, Johnny Depp was asked to resign from Fantastic Beasts movie. He was asked to step down within days. We saw that happen in real time. We saw him post his resignation on Instagram to try to say that he didn't lose his job because of that UK trial. That's just plain flies in the face of reality. We saw it in real time.
$100 million. Amber Heard's counterclaim is that he defamed her through his attorney, Adam Waldman, who accused her of creating an abuse hoax.
Also, I will add to that, he didn't accuse her. He basically stated what one of her own witnesses told him. And we saw that email. That email, incidentally, was one of the things that the court didn't accept coming into evidence because it was hearsay. Now, on Johnny Depp's side, there was evidence that the court suppressed because it was hearsay, and the third party couldn't be questioned and cross-examined, and that is legitimate fairness in law. It's not meant to be used as a weapon. It's supposed to be a fairness of trial issue, and likewise, Amber Heard's therapist notes were also excluded as evidence because they were also hearsay. Had they been able to get the people who Adam Waldman spoke to and, you know, the therapist herself to come up and get cross-examined, then that evidence would have been accepted. However, they couldn't get either of those people to come in and testify. Now, the person that I believe Adam Waldman spoke to in his emails certainly state that is Josh Drew, who did provide video testimony, but he changed 3 times. He changed his testimony. First of all, he did a deposition back in, I think it was 2016, where he supported Amber Heard, and then he found out that his girlfriend at the time, or fiance, I think they were engaged, was having an affair with somebody in Australia. So he broke up with her and he broke away from the Amber Heard crew. That's when he spoke with Adam Waldman, and he told a completely different story. He didn't support Amber Heard. In fact, he supported that she was having affairs and doing all sorts of stuff behind Johnny's back. Oh, and that Rocky also hid in the closet because that entire last episode was a setup. And then, a couple of weeks before the Virginia trials, Amber Heard reached out to Josh Drew, and bang, all of a sudden he's back to supporting her again. So I find this all very strange. What has she got on Josh Drew? Anyway, let's continue. Her counterclaim also, by the way, just to because I don't talk much about that counterclaim in this. Her counterclaim was had stated that we're all bots, that none of us were real. And her counterclaim fell apart at the seams. She had to actually leave that part of her counterclaim out because they saw in real time the world tuned in, and the whole world can't be all bots. The whole world tuned in to this trial, and a good portion of her counterclaim was that Johnny Depp had hired a Russian company to infiltrate the whole, social media and spread misinformation about her. And that's why they brought up the umbrella guy in the court case, because, apparently he was the only one they couldn't prove was a bot. It went on and on. The whole bot story, like that counterclaim was hundreds of pages. I think it was like 167 pages or something, just going on about these bots. They listed more than 200 Twitter users, listed their Twitter handles in a subpoena to Twitter to try and ascertain if they were bots. And this is why it's all so weird what Elon Musk just did to Twitter. Like, he did what seemed like to everybody a hostile takeover kind of scenario, the way he went about things. And what was his main complaint? Oh, that Twitter is full of bots. And whose main counterclaim was based on the Twitter bot theory? Oh yeah, Amber Heard, his ex-lover, and possibly baby mama. Anyway, we shall continue.
Now, the trial kicks off at 10 a.m. this morning here at the Fairfax County Courthouse.
And the great news is that we're going to watch it all unfold in real time.
So who were you here to support?
Johnny Depp. I've been coming since it started. This is for all my Johnny Depp fans out there. I say hi to him before he pulled in for court.
100 people were allowed in each day, and they were given wristbands to be able to come in.
And they were fighting the battle in the court of public opinion just
to focus on something that Elaine had said earlier. The only people that got kicked out of that courtroom for misbehaving were, let me think about that. Oh yes, Amber Heard supporters. It turns out, in some recent court filings, that one of the women involved with the insurance claims covering the costs of this trial for Amber Heard, she claimed to be the one who had one of the witnesses ejected from the courtroom mid-testimony. She claims it was her, that she went on social media and found a post that had the witness taken off the stand, and we know that it was actually Eve Barlow. So was Eve Barlow working with the insurance company to influence the outcome of this trial? And then we also find that this other woman who worked with Amber Heard's PR team all the way through, for many years, who had gone out into the car park and posted flyers on cars, hoping that some of those flyers would get to the jury. So who was trying to influence the outcome? It wasn't JD or his fans, was it?
as much as they were fighting inside the courtroom.
The Depp Heard case was a civil defamation suit. Civil suit meaning it's for money.
They're both public figures. There's a higher standard of defamation at play. It's about whether you maliciously went after this person with a reckless disregard of the truth.
Truth is an absolute defense to a defamation claim. The question was Ms. Heard telling the truth?
another point to defamation, as far as it relates to celebrity, is that innuendo, just the mere suggestion that you were talking about a specific celebrity also comes into play. Remember that, because they try to say that, well, she didn't even mention Johnny Depp, but everybody knew that she was talking about Johnny Depp, and that's a special sort of scenario that plays into being a celebrity as far as defamation goes.
When she generally claimed to be a victim of abuse.
She genuinely claimed to be a victim of abuse? No, she didn't genuinely claim to be that. Johnny Depp genuinely claimed to be a victim. She lied. But we'll continue.
Having the cameras in the courtroom sensationalizes everything. It becomes a soap opera of sorts.
Because there were cameras, people could edit videos online into...
Because it was public. So why is it public? Think about this. Why is a civil case public? If you claim to be a democracy and you claim to be fighting Russia because they're not a democracy, then you are fighting for, what is it? Oh yes, public information. Access to public information. That's what we all had. Access to public information. Why? Because we're democracies.
The TikToks into rapid fire Twitter videos and watch it almost like a gladiator ceremony. It reminded me of the OJ case, in which you had all the world essentially watching what was an extremely disturbing trial. And this was an extremely disturbing trial.
This was a defamation case. And before you knew it, we had all of these elements of domestic violence introduced.
Do you remember the first time that he physically hit you?
Yes. She was asking him about a tattoo he had altered because it initially said...
Wait, why do we need the journalist to tell us what that was about? Why don't we just listen to what Amber Heard said that was about? And I'll tell you why. Because if they let that little snippet play of her in court, she literally admitted that she got the whole time frame wrong, that she was out by a whole year. She had said that this incident with the tattoo occurred in 2013. That's what she said in the UK trial, obviously, which was not made public, but the documents were certainly, the transcriptions of her testimony were released, and anyone who was following it read them, as I did when it came out. But yeah, she claimed that this tattoo incident happened in 2013. In that snippet right there in the courtroom, she decided... TMZ had just called her out and said, we looked at the metadata attached to the photograph of the only evidence that this was occurring back in 2013. The metadata exposed that the photograph she submitted was taken in 2012. So this had come out on TMZ. And then all of a sudden, while she's on the stand, she actually had to retract what she had just said days before. She had to retract that and say, oh, no, this happened in 2012. That's why they didn't show you that snippet, because she actually did have to, and this is what she did in the UK trial. She started with, her original statement. 7 times throughout that court trial, her statements were proven to be untrue by evidence that Johnny presented. 7 times she resubmitted new statements to say, oh no, I got that wrong, sorry, I got that date wrong, or I got that bit of information wrong, or I have to change this bit of information. 7 different statements she had to submit in the UK trial, because while it was unfolding, she was proven to be lying.
Winona forever. Winona Ryder was famously one of his ex-girlfriends.
And I said, what does it say? And he said it says wino. I just laughed because I thought he was joking, and slapped me across the face.
But the cameras in the courtroom, I believe, also had an effect on the testimonies themselves, because these are 2 actors at the end of the day, right?
He said, you think it's so funny?
Right, they're 2 actors. And who's the better actor? Obviously Johnny Depp is, because he got in so many more movies. So if Johnny's the better actor, then the public consensus should have gone towards Johnny was only acting. that that's not how it went.
Funny. You think it's funny, bitch. You think you're a funny bitch. And he slapped me again.
And the entire argument on Depp's legal team was them saying that she is going to be giving the biggest performance of her life during her testimony.
I just...
Wrong. That was not their entire argument. That was just, you know, the verbal delivery of their opening statement. Their entire court proceedings was evidence after evidence, mountains of evidence, as Amber Heard would say, that proved she was lying. That's what this was based on. Evidence.
I stared at him because I didn't know what else to do. And he slaps me one more time. Hard.
If Ms. Heard could prove that any single event occurred and constituted abuse, then in theory, she should successfully defeat the defamation claim.
That was exactly right. This was hers to win. Every lawyer on YouTube started out watching this trial. This is her case to win. All of them. There wasn't a single lawyer out there who was pro JD. They were all saying this is her case to win. She only has to prove one. And everyone thought she could at least prove one. Even with all Johnny's evidence disproving a lot of what she said, everyone, all the lawyers on YouTube expected that she could prove at least one and that she was going to win.
Now, she took a bit of the kitchen sink approach and put on evidence of various incidents of alleged abuse.
After you said, let's drown her before we burn her, Mr. Depp, you said, I will...
If you were watching my videos, you will see exactly where that let's drown her before we burn her comment came from. It came from a movie. He was quoting a movie from, which is probably before most people's time on YouTube, at least, a UK comedy, and in that particular snippet that they're quoting, that he and Paul Bettany are quoting there, Paul Bettany actually starred in that actual snippet. So, yeah, taking jokes that he had said out of context is probably one of the biggest things, one of the biggest failures of Amber Heard's team. And then just to add to that, the things that he had said to other people in his texts were never meant for Amber Heard to hear. She was never meant to read those comments. So there can't be abuse because they were never said to her, they were never meant for her, they were never sent to her. The only reason she got hold of those texts and was able to use them in this court case is because Johnny's previous team in the UK trial, way early in the UK trial, accidentally gave 10,000 texts over that they shouldn't have had access to. That's how she got hold of this information and tried to use things that he had said to other people as evidence of abuse towards her. He never said those things to her. He said them, and this particular one was a joke to Paul Bettany, not to Amber Heard. Was never meant for her.
Will fuck her burnt corpse afterwards to make sure she is dead. Did I read that right?
You certainly did, yes.
A large part of Amber Heard's case and defense has been communications from Johnny Depp about Amber Heard.
Hopefully that...
About Amber Heard, not to Amber Heard. For them to be evidence of abuse, he had to have said them to Amber Heard. He had to have sent them to Amber Heard. He had to have made it quite obvious that he was saying these things to Amber Heard.
Rotting corpse is decomposing in the fucking trunk of a Honda Civic.
He says that it was an appeal to dark humor in a dark time.
He did his best to explain his personality and to try to get sympathy from the jury and from the public at large.
Johnny Depp took to the stand and talked about his childhood, and he talked about the abuse that he suffered at the hands of his mother.
She was quite violent, and she was quite cruel.
He would later go on to testify, saying that my father stayed with my mother and I wanted to do the same.
You start to slowly realize that you are in a relationship with your mother.
The entire reason he's taking his ex-wife to court is to clear his name.
today is actually the first opportunity that I've been able to...
Yes, to clear his name. He deserves to clear his name. She was the one who smeared it. You guys helped her, remember? Way back in 2016, it was all over the news, it was all over all your websites that he was an abuser. That's why he needed to clear his name, because you guys participated in victimizing him.
Speak about this in full for the first time.
He said, I've never had the opportunity to address this. Yes, he did, in the UK.
The UK court was not public. The records after some of the transcripts came out, some of the information was put out there, but it was all in court documents, transcriptions, all that sort of thing. It was never televised, it was never public, it was never he had a chance to speak. Secondly, Amber Heard was not a party to the UK court. I've pointed this out numerous times in various videos. She was not a party. He did not have a chance to address Amber Heard herself. What she did was she spoke up in the UK trial. Dan Wooten is who he was suing. Dan Wooten works for the UK Sun. That's who he was suing. And you look at the documents, you see Dan Wooten, the Sun, and Dan Wooten. He did not sue Amber Heard in the UK. So he did not have a chance to say anything in the UK to Amber Heard against her allegations. What happened in the UK was that Amber Heard spoke up as a witness. Dan Wooten never even stepped foot in the courtroom, ever, once. She was his mouthpiece. He was hiding behind her skirt. She did all the talking. She put on all her witnesses and all her evidence. And the UK court trial, because she was a witness, nothing that she said could be challenged. No evidence that she put in for that court case could be challenged. It was not a fair court case because nothing could be challenged. She threw hearsay into the argument. She threw everything she could at it and refused to produce any of her own documentation. Amber Heard was ordered in the Virginia trial to hand over her evidence because she was a party to the Virginia trial. She had to hand over her evidence in the Virginia trial. She had to put her evidence under scrutiny in the Virginia trial because that's what a fair trial actually is. But in the UK case, she didn't have to do any of that because she was only a witness.
The UK trial was a little different than this trial because Johnny Depp was not suing his ex-wife. Johnny Depp was suing a tabloid newspaper for calling him a quote-unquote wife beater in an article. So Johnny Depp's team had to prove that he was not a wife beater, and he lost the UK trial for defamation.
The judge found that Mr. Depp had committed at least 12 acts of domestic violence, including sexual violence. We were deprived of ever bringing in the fact that there was a judgment against Mr. Depp.
Well, first of all, there was not a judgment against Mr. Depp versus Amber Heard. That's why you were deprived. It was a judgment against the UK Sun. It was not against Amber Heard. Secondly, another country. It wasn't in the American system. It was another country altogether that has a completely different legal system. So, yeah, there was also that. I'm pretty sure the judge ruled on that as well. There were other things that the judge pointed out, including what I just said a moment ago, that the UK process was not a fair trial. We'll continue.
Evidence that came in the UK but did not come in the US was a lot of consistent text messages and emails. There's a text message from Stephen Duders, his assistant, to Amber, in which he says, Johnny's awake now. If he doesn't remember anything, when I told him he kicked you, he cried. There was emails and text messages through.
Why did he cry? Why did Johnny Depp cry when she was alleging he abused her? You know, maybe he's a victim of domestic violence and he can't believe that she's going to say that he was the one doing it. Maybe that's why he was crying. Think about it.
Throughout, including to her doctor, including to the nurses, those were all kept out.
The evidence came in that should come in, and the judge was very fair to both sides.
Mr. Depp and Ms. Heard, in this case, were the parties. They had different disclosure obligations.
Depp's team wanted to demonize Amber every way they can, and at the same time try to suppress any of the evidence of Mr. Depp's domestic violence.
Depp's team didn't have to do anything at all to Amber Heard. She did it all herself, and you, Elaine, helped her do it. You didn't pull her up. You didn't say to her, getting on the stand is a bad idea. Pretty much every lawyer on the planet has said that was a bad idea. When do you accept responsibility for not being able to control your own client, your own case? You put her on the stand. She did her own damage.
There were therapy notes that go back to 2011 when Amber Heard was first dating Mr. Depp. Detailed notes.
Then why didn't this therapist offer to jump on the stand and testify to these notes? Please tell us that, Elaine. If she was able to testify that these were notes that she wrote and this is what Amber Heard told her, why didn't she get on the stand and testify? As somebody else has pointed out below in the comments, most likely because she didn't want to perjure herself.
It's 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014. To see that contemporaneous reporting all those years would have been very, very powerful, in my view, to a jury. But none of that came in because the judge determined that those were out-of-court statements.
Hearsay. Out-of-court statements are hearsay. Had she got on the stand, that therapist was prepared to be cross-examined, then it would have been fair, Elaine. So you should have subpoenaed the therapist.
Good trial attorney, and I think both sides did this. They're going to develop a theme. From Mr. Depp's perspective, their theme throughout was that I am not the abuser.
Never did I myself reach the point of striking Miss Heard in any way, nor have I ever struck any woman.
If anything, I'm the one who was abused.
And he goes, why are you accusing me of domestic violence when I should be the one accusing you? Mm-hmm. Yep, the plot thickens. The plot thickens.
A man has to live within a system and a society that does not believe that he can be a victim. Men do not traditionally come forward.
Miss Heard, in her frustration and in her rage and her anger, she would strike out.
Of all the domestic violence victims, it's 85% women and 15% men. I do believe...
Actually, I'm pretty sure the CDC has put out different statistics to what this woman is quoting here. I could be wrong, but I saw some documentation just recently that CDC says it's 50-50, that it's equally men and women. So, very close to 50-50, don't quote me on the exact numbers. But no, I think that the Me Too movement has doctored some of the information on where they are drawing their statistics from, which is, an issue with people drawing statistics who have no experience in statistics.
Strongly that men are underreported.
And then they basically spent the remainder of the trial just trying to poke as many holes in as many of Miss Heard's stories as they...
Both are underreported. Both are grossly underreported. For the very, I think it's in Australia, it's only 1 out of 10 that are reported. So it's women and men. These sort of things are underreported. Crime in general is 1 in 10. So there's really no fluctuation between what type of violence is happening as to its over or underreportedness. And I would just point out that it's media hit jobs just like this that stops people from reporting. Okay, this is a well-known fact, and it is well known, especially in journalistic field, that hit jobs like this, where you are re-victimizing the victim and taking a side, this is why most agencies will tell you that these sort of crimes are underreported. This institutional abuse.
Possibly could.
She said that she was going to give all of her divorce proceedings to charity.
You have not donated $7 million of...
Why did she say she was giving everything to charity? Let's not forget the why part. Okay, Amber Heard said, well, I shouldn't have to give all my money to charity. No, you shouldn't. But the fact is, you said, back in 2016 or 17, whenever you made the settlement, you said to the world, to prove that you were not after money, that you were not just saying this for the money, that you would give it all to charity. You said that this would be proof. This is what you also told the UK judge, that this giving away the money was proof that you didn't do this to Johnny Depp because of the money.
your divorce settlement to charity, right?
I have not been able to fulfill those obligations yet.
I did not hurt you. I did not punch you. I was hitting you.
Another audio clip, she...
Hang on, before we get to the audio clips, let's finish up what the last topic was. Amber Heard said on the stand she hasn't given the money to charity because she had to spend all that money fighting this legal case. It was because Johnny sued her that she couldn't pay the charities. Now we find out, after all the court case is over, that she was claiming it all on insurance. She not only deprived dying children of that money that she pledged, but she also claimed it was because Johnny Depp was suing her and she had to spend that money defending herself, when in actual fact she was claiming everything on insurance. This has just come out in the since this trial finished, the insurance companies are now both suing Amber Heard.
He appeared to be mocking him over his claims of being abused by her.
And see what the jury and judge think. Tell the world, Johnny. Tell them, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp, man, I'm a victim too of domestic violence.
She was mocking him. She was mocking him. Look at her face. Look at that smirk on her face. What victim smirks? Like, seriously.
I know it's a fair fight. It sees how many people believe or side with you.
It was really hard as a viewer who advocates for victims of domestic violence to learn that Heard had used that social bias, that misconception, in a manipulative way.
With all due respect, I wasn't saying it because he's a man. I was saying it because he's a man.
Wait. Did NBC just include a little bit of truth there? I mean, because that's what the world heard. That is exactly what the world heard. That she was mocking him because he's a man. Men can't be domestic violence victims. And I agree with some of the comments below this, which suggests that NBC had a better story had they covered the fact that men can be victims too. They had a far better story, and they'd have got way more popularity if that's what they did. But obviously, if they did that, then their whole Me Too, Believe All Women thing would have been like out the door a little bit. The fact is, you need to believe victims, and you need to work out who the victim is and who's lying. And that's how it should be for every case. Male, female, transgender, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how you identify, alright? Every human has the ability to lie. Every human has the ability to do it for financial purposes, which is what Amber Heard was doing. This is what the jury decided she had done. She had done it for financial purposes.
You beat me up for 5 years.
Mr. Depp is your victim, isn't he?
No, ma'am.
Depp's legal team brought forth their former couples counselor.
There was violence from Mr. Depp toward Amber, correct?
Yes, you're right. With Ms. Heard, he was triggered, and they engaged in what I saw as mutual.
The problem with Amber Heard's witnesses is that they're all repeating what she told them. Johnny Depp's witnesses, however, were telling the court what they saw with their own eyes. This woman didn't see anything with her own eyes. None of Amber Heard's witnesses, not a single one of Amber Heard's witnesses, saw anything with their own eyes. Pretty much all of Johnny Depp's witnesses, apart from his business witnesses who are helping to prove that he lost jobs, but all of his witnesses as far as the DV goes, all of his witnesses saw things with their own eyes. It wasn't stuff that Johnny Depp told them. Johnny Depp was the one who was keeping it secret.
Abuse. I will tell you, in all my years, I've never heard the term, ever. When we're talking about domestic violence, we're talking about a primary aggressor. In the context of retaliatory abuse, sometimes it's you beginning that exchange. But until you're in a situation in which someone is hurting you, you don't understand the dynamics that are at play there.
I was the love of my life, but he was also this other thing. And that other thing was awful.
I think the reason that the world didn't receive this as violence, there were a couple of things that I heard being said, but the reason I didn't personally see this as violence is because I've kicked cupboards myself. And it wasn't in a domestic situation, you know. When I've heard bad news, it's really frustrated me. I've kicked cupboards, I've slammed doors, I've been angry about things and, you know, taken it out on inanimate objects. That doesn't make me an abuser. And I'm pretty sure everybody can key with this concept. We didn't see him abusing her. They say, oh, but he was doing it in front of her. It's his own fucking house. It's his own house. She could have left. She didn't have to stay there and watch him lose his temper. She could have left. What did she choose to do? She chose to film him. Not only did she choose to film him, but she never caught him abusing her. Now, as other people have pointed out, and I also thought myself, you cannot get away with filming someone, trying to trap them in, you know, catching their behaviour out like this, and all they're going to do is throw the camera in the bin, because that's all he did in this. TMZ didn't release that part of the video right at the end where he busted her and he threw it in the bin. That's all he did. He threw the camera in the bin. That's not abusive. In a real domestic violence situation, he would have pounded the living crap out of her because she was filming him and trying to get evidence.
Members of the public look at recordings as being a little bit underhanded.
You got this going? Oh, really?
It just goes to the overarching question of which party had the jurors' trust.
Amber Heard has submitted quite a few photos into evidence of her injured.
With respect to photos of Miss Heard, I think that the jury most likely found the testimony of the gentleman from TMZ to be very compelling.
The testimony from the TMZ guy was compelling. Not that Amber Heard's photos were identical to each other for separate incidences that happened years apart. Not because of that. Or because the metadata was questionable. Not because of that either. The metadata, if you want to talk about evidence that was kept out of the court, let's talk about the metadata, because the metadata didn't match. And every time the expert who was brought up to talk about the metadata tried to talk about the study that he did into the metadata, that he was shut down. So let's talk about evidence that was suppressed in this trial, because her metadata didn't match up. And in fact, other YouTubers, and including myself, put these two separate photos that she admitted into evidence as two separate incidents. We overlaid them on top of each other, and you could see that they are exactly identical. Every strand of hair in exactly the same place. If you've watched my previous videos, you've seen other telling evidence that she was wearing different, in photographs that she submitted that were all the same episode, that she took all these photos straight afterwards. She's wearing different clothes, different necklaces, different, she's plucked her eyebrows differently, she's done all these things differently, all within minutes of each other. That can't be possible. It wasn't the TMZ witness that swayed the jury. It was Amber Heard's own evidence that swayed the jury. and the rest of the world.
Ms. Heard was filing a restraining order at a courthouse in downtown Los Angeles. So I dispatched camera people to that location. We would only ever send people there if we had been tipped off.
And the TMZ former employee effectively said that that was staged. When jurors see that, they're going to lose a lot of faith in anything else that's presented.
Because it was staged. And another YouTuber has diligently found out who her contact is at TMZ. We now know who her contact is at the TMZ, who was doing all of this staging and stuff for her. He's not just a person she rings up when she's having trouble. He's actually a very close friend of hers.
Visually or otherwise.
I did not call TMZ or any other news source or paparazzi source. No one.
Unfortunately for Ms. Heard's camp, some of the more graphic, significant events were the ones that I think were most hotly contested.
The night in Australia, there's still so many questions about this fight, which, allegedly led to Johnny Depp's fingertip being severed. He alleges that she threw 2 vodka bottles at him.
It made contact and shattered everywhere. And then I looked down and realized that the tip of my finger had been severed.
Amber Heard has said on the stand she doesn't have a clear recollection of how things...
Here's the point that you guys missed, and you're supposed to be factual journalists. There were hospital records of this incident. There were doctors' reports of this incident. It's one thing that Amber Heard couldn't produce. You say, oh, but victims don't always go to the hospital. Well, Johnny Depp did. He did go to the hospital. He did get treatment. He did have proof. Conveniently left out by these reporters.
Things unfolded, but she has alleged that he sexually assaulted her with a bottle.
I just saw his arm. I could feel his arm moving.
There were a couple of points in the trial that...
Oh, look, they caught the only time that she was able to draw a tear out of her eyes. The one time out of her, 3 days of testifying to all of these terrible things that he did to her, she was able to draw that one little tear in the corner of her eye. And that's what they included in this video.
Should have never come out so publicly.
I didn't know of the bottle.
I think I'm going to have to skip this part because I don't want to publicise, what she thinks happened here. I don't want to mock actual victims of domestic violence by showing this part. So I'm just going to skip to the next part of the commentary.
Survivors have reached out. They have been triggered. I know that myself, I got triggered.
My back was towards you, but you hit me in the face.
Ew, this is so cringe. Guilty.
A lot of times jurors, whether male or female jurors, they don't want to see a woman cry. They don't find it believable.
Here she is being forced to recount all these things. And what do they say? Oh, she cried. What's wrong with these people?
Would you please stand and face the jury?
Even though...
What's wrong with these people is that her acting coach testified that she can't cry when she's acting. That's what's wrong with these people. They listen to what her acting coach actually said, and that was she can't cry when she's acting. The one time she was able to draw one little tear in the corner of her eye is all you were showing in this video. You didn't show the whole testimony where she wasn't able to, she was acting like she was crying, but she wasn't able to do it. And you keep coming back to O.J. Simpson. Why do you keep coming back to O.J. Simpson? That guy murdered somebody. Why does O.J. Simpson have any relevance whatsoever to a domestic violence case? Nobody was murdered in this case.
Past contentious court cases have been televised. There hasn't been TikTok and there wasn't Twitter to cover these trials in real time. That really changed the course of this trial.
The jurors were not sequestered. The judge would instruct them each night not to do any additional research.
This is a long proceeding spanning 2 months. I just think it's unrealistic to think that the jurors stayed off of social media.
And once you're...
It may be unrealistic to think that they did. However, only 1 or 2 of those jurors were young people. Most of the people I know that are over 30 or 40, they don't even have Twitter. They don't have access to the digital medium the way young people do. So to say that the jury all had Twitter and were following this case on Twitter, I don't find that believable at all. Most of the I actually don't know anybody in my own circle, even the young people, my kids, none of them have Twitter. None of them do. So to presume that everyone just has social media, that's very American pop culture. It's not entirely true for everybody, and certainly doesn't have to be true for the particular jury that was voir dire for this trial.
On them, you can't avoid it.
This monster of algorithms at play, where even if you've never followed Amber Heard or Johnny Depp, you were inundated on your social media feeds with aspects of this trial.
And I will also beg to differ on that score as well, because nobody on my social media took any notice of this particular trial. When I brought it up, I got 0 likes, 0 conversation, 0 interaction. Nobody gave a shit on my own social media. Even the videos that I did a 20 series and 1 encore to talk about, where this all started and how it all got fired up because of the media. And I lost viewers. I went from engagement of, 800 or 900 people down to, I think, 2 or 3 views per video. I think it might have actually increased since then. I think I might be up to 50 views per video now out of my 1,000 audience. So yeah, I beg to differ.
And so the way that people got so much of the action from the courtroom was through these videos on social media platforms.
TikTok.
The way people got their information was watching YouTubers stream NBC, as well as others. I know that weren't the only ones, but I'm just saying, NBC were the only ones who weren't striking people, so a lot of YouTubers tuned into NBC and their footage of the trial because they weren't striking people, and apparently their audio was better.
Just went crazy. The ability to do short films mocking someone or giving your opinion about something is what TikTok is, and they certainly did.
Leaned back and headbutted me square in the nose.
The breath.
I think what people were mocking on TikTok were the things that she was saying and the way that she was saying it. This particular TikTok that they're showing here, he balled up his fist, he rolled it back, and he headbutted me. I mean, that was nonsensical. That was really nonsensical. What was supposed to logically follow, balling up the fist, rolling it back like a baseball pitcher, he should have used the fist. But he didn't use the fist. He headbutted her. She could have described, what somebody does when they look like they're going to headbutt you, but she didn't. She described what somebody does when they're going to use their fist to hit you. So the TikTok videos were not making fun of her per se. They were pointing out that there was no logic to what she was saying. There was a big gap between what she was saying and what actually fits what she was saying. They're showing you, they're acting it out here, what she is saying. And a couple of other things that, TikTok brought to everybody's attention. When Amber Heard said she was hit in the face with the phone, she pointed to the wrong side of her face. Her evidence showed that she was hit on the right side of her face. When she described the incident, she pointed to the left side of her face. It was just discrepancies like that. It wasn't making fun of her. It was pointing out that what she said was not making logical sense.
and depth of what we've seen, and particularly the attacks and abuse aimed at Ms. Heard, is something remarkable. Can you imagine?
It was remarkable because it wasn't believable, because there was no logic to her stories. The things that TikTok were pointing out was things that we were all thinking while we were watching this court case unfold. And if you weren't thinking it while you were watching this court case unfold, then it was you that had the bias, not us. Most of us came into this thinking Amber Heard was innocent. I certainly came into the UK trial thinking Amber Heard was a DV survivor. That's why I watched the UK trial, because I wanted to see someone powerful like Johnny Depp get his comeuppance, and that's not what I took away from the UK trial.
And being a survivor and seeing the mockery that she's endured.
If you actually watched it live on YouTube, there's a live feed, and every comment I saw while I was watching it for 6 weeks were pro-Depp.
If you want to go viral, you're going to want to talk about the event.
This is NBC having a tantrum because they went to a great deal of effort from 2016 up until this trial to defame Johnny Depp. They tried their very best to tell everybody Johnny Depp's an abuser, Amber Heard's believable, her evidence is believable. The Virginia trial will show everybody that Amber Heard's evidence is mountainous and all these other things. NBC themselves were promoting this as a win for Amber Heard. What they're doing here is they are having a tantrum because their narrative was shot down when people actually saw the trial itself. That they didn't expect that nearly the whole world, like 90% of the world who were invested in watching this case, would actually watch every day of the trial. Every single day of the trial. 5 to 10 million, I can't even tell you how many, but I know it was big numbers, tuned in to every minute of this trial. That's what they were not counting on. They were counting on, because she made SA allegations, it wouldn't go public and it would be kept quiet, and the NBC could continue spinning their own narrative no matter how the trial ended. That's not how it worked.
In favor of Johnny Depp.
I really think it has a lot to do with Johnny Depp wanting the cameras to be in the room in the first place. I think he was aware of the public's perception of him.
Johnny Depp said, when this came up, when the judge said, this is public information, this is a public trial, this is a defamation case held in the civil courts, this is not a criminal case, this is not any other case that is not public information. It was a public information case, and the American courts have a duty to the public. Any democratic society has a right to public information that is going on in their court system. This is what keeps the confidence that the court system is fair and just. And as I've just said previously in this video, you cannot claim to be a fair and just democracy enforcing your fair and just democracy on other countries like Russia and China, whilst at the same time claiming that your justice system is not fair and just. That's not how it works.
Johnny Depp was a star. He was a lot of people's first crush. And so there is a parasocial attachment that adds another layer of investment.
93% of the accounts posting have been in favor of Johnny Depp.
Interestingly, some of the lawyers who were covering this trial, who believed that Amber Heard was going to win because it was hers to win, actually ran polls on their channels and found out that 93%, the exact figure that they're stating here, 93% had turned in favor of Johnny Depp. When I first started covering this case, not on my channel, but in research and trying to put together what had happened in the UK trial, when I first started doing that, It was the opposite. There was only like 3% of people out there saying, you know, Johnny Depp was innocent. It was exactly the opposite, because news media, like NBC, had already turned public opinion against Johnny Depp. It was already done. It was this trial. It was putting her evidence on trial that changed the opinion of pretty much, you know, 93% of the audience. It was her evidence, because Johnny Depp's evidence was no secret. Johnny Depp's evidence had been out there for many months. Johnny Depp's evidence had come out through the UK trial. His solicitor put this information out there during the UK trial. We saw it all. We saw Adam Waldman posting this stuff on Twitter as it was unfolding. So, yeah, at that point in time, the news media had already swung everything against Johnny Depp.
I did not expect for my TikToks to get over 6 million views. It's been great to see that so many people are on his side and so many people agree with me and think that, you know, she is a liar and a bad actress.
There were dozens of lawyers who attended this VA trial. Dozens of them. There was, I know of at least 6 myself who attended the trial. Why is there no interviews of actual lawyers who know what the laws are that are on trial here? Why is it only fans? Why are they only trying to dig up fans and TikTokers? Why didn't they interview any of the lawyers who understood what the evidence was that was being presented? Bias, perhaps?
You also had segments of YouTube that had never covered anything even close to this trial, all of a sudden pivoting, people going from fewer than 100,000 subscribers.
This woman here, she interviewed one of the YouTubers they just flashed on the screen there, Popcorn Planet, and she claimed that he had pivoted during this trial. That's not true. He was covering this and the Britney Spears case for years, like years before this trial. Same with Umbrella Guy. He's been covering this case since at least the UK trial. Years. Some of the lawyers, yes, they pivoted because that's what their audience asked them to do. And you might learn a lesson from this. Look at your likes to dislikes ratio here. You're not making yourself popular here because you're not covering what your audience actually wants you to cover. And if you're going to hang the YouTubers, the lawyers on YouTube who decided, okay, a lot of them said, no, I'm not covering the case, it's rubbish. It's just a trashy relationship, spoiled brat thing going on in Hollywood. That's what pretty much like 80% of the lawyers had said when they first went, before the VA trial started. By the time the VA trial had kicked off, their audiences had convinced them to cover the trial. Whether they were pro or not was not the issue. They just wanted their favourite lawyer YouTuber to cover the trial. And I'm pretty sure that Popcorn Planet, by its very name alone, has always been about pop culture. Always, since its inception. It was always pop culture. He told her this in his interview. Where is the snippets of his interview with this lady? It's just her saying allegations that were not said in his interview.
To over 500,000 subscribers in a matter of weeks.
I really don't know anything about this.
In any really big case, you'll see a lot of fascinating kind of banding together of people. There are people who love Johnny Depp and genuinely adore him.
The bandwagon effect. Let's talk about the bandwagon effect. Isn't that how you got the whole world against Johnny Depp to begin with? All you fancy journalists got the whole world to judge Johnny Depp based on Amber's accusations and no court case? Isn't it the bandwagon effect that got the Me Too movement going? Isn't it that exact effect that you're talking about that had the whole world judging Johnny Depp as a wife beater to begin with?
And think that he is a great man and are very worried about him.
You also have men's rights factions of the internet contributing to this conversation, along with people who love true crime.
You have domestic abuse survivors who...
What is wrong with men supporting men in cases like this? What is wrong with that? It's not misogynistic. Women support women. Women go to other women and talk about their issues. Men support men. That's how it works, you know. Trans people support trans people. Gay people support gay people. Black people support black people. What is wrong with that? Why is it wrong when it's a man? You talk about gender equality, and now you're saying that men can't do these things? Men, because they're men, they can't do these things. If they were some other gender or identified as something else, that's okay. But because they're men, they can't do it. That's not entirely gender equality. That is the opposite, the exact opposite to gender equality.
who don't feel like Amber Heard was a reflection of them.
But what are your thoughts on Amber Heard?
I myself am a survivor of domestic abuse, and I felt like I could see right through when she was on the stand and the things she would say, that manipulation that they do.
I'd like to remind us all that all victims are not the same. Ms. Heard is what we would call the imperfect victim. As a society.
What's an imperfect victim? What is that? Are you just trying to coin a phrase? What are you saying? The imperfect victim. No victim's perfect. We're fucking human. All of us are human. No matter how you identify, you're still a human. What does a perfect victim look like? This is just such a dumb comment. There is no perfect victim because we're all humans and we're all imperfect.
We have a stereotype of what a victim of domestic violence looks like.
You weren't scared of him at all, were you?
Hang on. We have a stereotype of what a domestic violence victim looks like, and then they put her on the screen. Is this the stereotype of what a domestic violence victim is supposed to look like? Because it seems to me that 93% of the world think that Johnny Depp's actually the non-stereotype, and that's why I haven't put him on the screen right here. He is not the stereotype of what a domestic violence victim should look like. That's why you're not putting him on the screen, right? He doesn't look like a victim. Men can't be victims. That's what you're saying here. You are stereotyping by saying this comment.
This is a man who tried to kill me. Of course it's scary.
They usually have the battered bruises.
There aren't any medical records reflecting that you sought medical treatment for any of these injuries, are there?
Johnny Depp had several black eyes, which she tried to say were photoshopped. He had photographs of several black eyes that third parties had taken photos of because he didn't want to be recording it. He didn't want record of it. They wanted record of it. He had hospital records where he had to go and seek medical attention to have his finger sewed back on. He had all of those things. And you're saying she's not the perfect victim. He is not the perfect victim. That's why you won't cover it.
I did not seek medical treatment after Australia, no.
Not for the rape?
No.
Johnny Depp did though, didn't he?
I did not want to tell anyone.
It is a certain amount of crying, but not too much. A certain amount of anger, but not too much.
Victims and survivors of domestic violence each are different, and they have different experiences. There is no perfect victim.
So you agree that there is no perfect victim? That this has nothing to do with stereotypes? You're actually agreeing with that? All in the same documentary?
If you didn't take pictures, it didn't happen. If you did take pictures, they're fake. If you didn't tell your friends, you're lying. And if you did tell your friends, they're part of the hoax.
The litigants each really tapped in pretty explicitly to the larger social media and the cultural narratives that have been surrounding the case.
No woman ever.
Wait a minute. Let's just rewind that for 1 second. Because who brought up the social media shit in this trial? It wasn't Johnny Depp's team. They never mentioned the social media stuff. Who brought it into the case? Oh, that's right. It was Amber Heard's countersuit, which claimed that Johnny Depp had hired a Russian firm to plaster Twitter with bots, that none of us were real. Anyone who supported him, not real, all bots. It was her team who put that into evidence. Alright? No, they didn't talk about the bots during the trial. They just talked about the social media aspect. They talked about the umbrella guy. They talked about the real Laura B. They talked about YouTubers having contact with Adam Waldman after Twitter suspended him. And that was it. Giving it to them was the only way to get the information out there, because Twitter had already tried to suppress and shut Johnny Depp down.
Never before Amber Heard ever claimed that Mr. Depp raised a hand to her. This is Me Too without any Me Too.
The verdict is in. They're going to read it at 3 o'clock.
Right.
We have a verdict?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Jurors deliberated 13 hours. Verdict delayed.
Wait. Are you telling me that you filmed this documentary before the verdict came in? That you had this preconceived bias? How far through? 5 minutes from the end of this documentary, and they're just getting the verdict now, towards the end of this documentary. They had a preconceived bias before the verdict came in and recorded pretty much all of this documentary before the verdict came in.
He won. Okay. That's going to be an interesting fallout for a lot of domestic abuse survivors.
You're talking about all the domestic abuse survivors that commented on your video below. Is that who you're talking about? 5,000 of them, nearly 6,000 of them, have said you're full of shit. That Amber Heard doesn't represent them. There's actually a petition out there saying, no, Amber Heard doesn't represent us. We don't want her representing us. Get her off the representing us bandwagon. We don't want her representing us. So, what fallout are you talking about? Are you talking about the small, minute fraction of people who have clicked your like button here, that bought everything that Amber Heard said, who believe that men can't be abuse survivors, who believe the stereotype is always female, it can't be a man? Is that who you're talking about?
I think from Mr. Depp's perspective, his legal team put on an incredible case and pulled a rabbit out of a hat. It's apparent.
Wait, they put on evidence. They put on actual evidence. They did not pull a rabbit out of a hat. They pulled on actual evidence. When Amber Heard said this, there was either a witness, an eyewitness, not a hearsay, somebody told me, blah, blah, but an eyewitness who could refute what she was claiming. In every single case, there was actual evidence. It was weighed very carefully what could be evidence and what couldn't be evidence. Amber produced nothing, or at least some photos that we now know are actually reproductions of photos of reproductions of photos. Johnny Depp's team had real evidence, undoctored evidence, with metadata that could be proven to be real evidence. They did not pull any rabbits out of hats. If anyone was trying to pull rabbits out of hats, it was certainly Amber Heard's team, and they're still trying to do it here in this interview.
From the jury's verdict, they didn't believe anything she said.
The jury awarded Johnny Depp $10 million in compensatory damages and $5 million in punitive. So, but then they also awarded $2 million to Amber Heard in compensatory damages. So then, if the counterclaim says that she never committed an abuse hoax, then I don't understand how you could have both things be true.
A lot of people couldn't understand that. However, one of the jurors came out and explained that it was a way to come to a unanimous verdict. It was simply Give her $2 million for, you know, whatever she thinks she suffered because of what Adam Waldman said. Give her that at least. Let's get this verdict in and have a unanimous jury. One of the jurors came forward and said that. And then nobody believed that that juror was actually real. So that juror ended up going to the media and telling the media, who could actually check that that juror was real. So now it's confirmed that juror was real. So Amber got the $2 million because one person on that jury wasn't quite buying the whole, you know, evidence that Johnny Depp had put up. But when you consider that the entire jury, bar one person, was holding out, this could have gone on for a lot longer. Not because she was damaged in what Adam Waldman said, but because they needed to come to a unanimous decision. Okay? It was a compromise. That's all it was.
I have been glued to the TV for the last 6 weeks, so it will be nice to get my life back, but I am probably even happier just knowing that justice was served.
What was his reaction in the moment?
I think just an overwhelming sense of relief.
Social media certainly took off in a way that we've seen high-profile trials before, but do you believe the jurors saw any of that, were swayed by any of that?
No, I don't think there's any reason to believe that the jurors violated their oath. And that suggestion was disappointing to hear.
I don't know how they can possibly come to that conclusion. You could not.
Perhaps because the juror came out and said that none of us had Twitter. That might have been part of it, you know? That none of them actually were watching social media because they were mostly older people who don't give a shit about social media.
Not escape it.
Do you see any larger message beyond the case you tried?
No, I mean, frankly, we don't. We're here to talk about the case that we tried, right? We encourage all victims to come forward, have their day in court, which is exactly what happened in this case.
When we heard the verdict, we were very disappointed. We have struggled for years.
That was a woman. That was a woman saying the victim came forward and had a chance to tell their story. There was a woman saying that. But because she represents a man, not on. They have to put this woman over the top of her because the stereotype doesn't match.
Years to ensure that survivors' voices are heard. It turned out that the jury believed that, it was defamation, which is, by the way, a control tactic by a lot of abusive persons in order to
the control tactic that was used against Johnny Depp. Is that what you're talking about? That you had the whole world believing that he was an abuser up until this court trial. The very tactic that Amber Heard had used against Johnny Depp. That one. Is that the one you're talking about? To silence Johnny Depp? To have his own solicitor kicked off Twitter? Because he was telling us what evidence was going to be presented in the UK trial? Is that the type of control tactics that you're talking about by Amber Heard?
Maintain control. Defamation cases will be exerted more often. It won't be pretty.
There will be plenty of plaintiffs who will file and pursue claims that may not be winning claims, but they'll take that chance.
So if we imagine a college student who is a victim of sexual assault, who wants to tell her story, the worry is that we might need to start counseling victims that telling their stories can have a very significant financial price.
What happened?
Why would you counsel victims in that capacity? Why would you tell them not to come forward? Why would you do that? Why would you tell a victim that if they come forward, it'll cost them a lot? Why would you do that? I don't understand why you would do that. Johnny Depp was the victim. He came forward and he won. This is a win for domestic violence victims. You're turning it around because it doesn't suit your narrative, where your own bias is the stereotype has to be Amber Heard. No, that doesn't work. You can't tell victims not to come forward because Amber Heard didn't win. You have to tell victims this was a win for domestic violence. Read your comments below, people.
Happens if I get ambered, because we're beginning to hear those terms, or we heard the term that Friday I will dep you.
We are already seeing other celebrities who are accused of.
And here we come to the reason that Marilyn Manson was brought up so many times in the Johnny Depp trial. Who was it that was trying to do this? Oh yeah, that's right, it's the media and this Evan Rachel Wood's woman trying to do this very same thing to Marilyn Manson. And they're trying to shut him up. He's already lost jobs, he's lost his recording contracts, he's pretty much lost everything, and there hasn't even been a fucking court case. When you go and research Marilyn Manson, all the news outlets are doing what they did to Johnny Depp. They're saying, because Marilyn Manson has this image that he puts across as, you know, shock rocker or whatever it is the image is, that must mean it's true. Fuck having a court trial. We don't need a court trial. We know it's true because he's a shock rocker. No, that's not how it works. He's well within his right to sue Evan Rachel Wood and her crony friend for defamation, because totally different situation to Amber Heard. They actually did do some illegal shit. They actually did go out there and pretend that they were FBI agents, and I can't think of the word, but they elicited victims, pretend victims, to come forward. They gave them lists. They pretended that the FBI was investigating him. They swatted him, for fuck's sake. Swatting's illegal in pretty much every state in America now. They swatted him. They're trying to shut him up. The media is trying to shut Marilyn Manson down.
Sexual violence, filing defamation suits against their accusers.
The Me Too movement at its core was about victims coming forward and...
Do you want to watch that again? She nearly said about women. She had the victims. She was going to say women. Let's just take it back a little bit further. I don't know if I can... Look, women. It was about women coming forward. Not men, women. It was about women coming forward. Watch it.
The Me Too movement at its core was about victims coming forward.
Had to correct herself. Women, because men can't be victims. I mean, the bias is so fucking obvious. They couldn't even clip that little bit out.
And telling their stories.
We're women and we're proud. We won't be shut down.
I do wonder whether there will be that power in numbers again. Whether people will be willing to go forward knowing they could get...
Read the comments below, dipshit. There's still power in numbers. DV survivors by the thousands are commenting on your video. They're telling you you're wrong. You're not listening to DV survivors. You're attacking them. You're not listening. If you were listening to them, you'd be reading your comments below.
Get sued for defamation.
I strain to recall a case like this where you had a celebrity who had fallen from grace use a public proceeding in a court trial to rehabilitate that image. And that's what he did, and winning.
So, nobody in history has ever done this. Nobody in history, no celebrity on the record has ever done a defamation trial like this and won. None in history. And this somehow proves that this particular court case was won because this is what celebrities do. Because this is how they use the defamation against their accusers. Is that what you say? I mean, it's totally contradictory. Totally contradictory.
Was a welcomed byproduct.
I think looking back, people are going to think of this as the TikTok trial, the social media trial, the fan trial, because...
No. Looking back, people are going to look at this as the media lost in the court of public opinion. The media tried their best to manipulate and hide the facts and pretend like this man can't possibly be a fucking survivor. This man has to be an abuser because that's what all we've been saying for the last, I think it was 6 years. We will look back on this going, this was the day the media made total fucking fools of themselves. That's what this is going to be.
his fans really came out in such full force and really having fun with what were some pretty horrific claims.
This trial really
because she wasn't a victim. They were having fun with it because she was a perpetrator, because they were making fun of a perpetrator. This is what you guys were all doing with Harvey Weinstein, making fun of the perpetrator, and, you know, the Jeffrey Epstein making fun of the perpetrator. You allowed all that to happen when it's a perpetrator. This is a precedent that you guys set. It was a social precedent that was set by the mainstream media. This is how you treat a perpetrator. You guys set this precedent.
Demonstrates the power of the internet and how campaigns for public opinion can shape real-world effects.
Yeah, it does, eh? It demonstrates how the public gets the last say. Not you, not the media. You don't get the last say. You don't get to shape narratives. The public gets the last say. You know why? Because the justice system is there for the public. It is there to protect our communities. It's there to protect us. That's what the justice system does. It's there to represent us, to make sure that we feel that our country is safe to live in, where perpetrators like Amber Heard are held to account. That's why the public gets the last say, not the news media.
So whether you're in politics, media, entertainment, this presents itself as a playbook.
You know, I saw, oh, is Me Too over? And you darn tootin' it's not. How do we deal with something like what just happened? She wrote an op-ed about her domestic violence. The op-ed and the...
She wrote lies. That's what she did. She wrote lies. You want to write lies? You want to do this, what you're doing right now, just tell lies and gaslight the whole fucking world? Then you're probably going to get what's coming to you as well. And I see a lot of commenters below saying they've unsubscribed, don't want to watch NBC anymore. You're out. This is what happens when you tell lies.
Social media were weaponized against her. So what does that mean to someone else who may want to talk about this?
You are now weaponizing social media against the actual victim, Johnny Depp. What does that say about you?
It's going to be tough. We can do it. I never say no.
Wow. That's all I got to say is wow. This is a blatant attack on Johnny Depp. This is a continuation of victimization. This is a very good example of institutional abuse of a victim, revictimization. This is everything that journalistic standards warn against.